And you're very welcome to round 7 of the RTA Motorsport Ray Racing Formula Ford 1600 series live here on Gantry TV. We're in the penultimate round. We're getting seriously close now to what's coming to the culmination of a fascinating championship. Very much an open season here as we go to what was due to originally be the first of our overseas round here at Ledenon, just outside the absolutely gorgeous Roman city of Nîmes on the south of France. My name's Kevin Galvin, and I'm joined as ever by Evan Dalton in the commentary booth, Ronan Hederman doing the cameras and all the good stuff behind. And Evan, this is a series that is, I suppose, really getting tight to the wire as we approach a track that not a lot of drivers have a huge amount of experience on.
Yeah, the season is getting towards the end. It's still as close as maybe when we started, but we're here at Ledenon, which is a really difficult circuit. It's a new circuit for a lot of drivers. I don't think a lot of drivers would have driven this maybe in the past, and should be an interesting evening, maybe a little bit different than what we're used to. Usually we're used to wide British circuits with a lot of overtaking. I think this one could be an evening of attrition, where if you can survive throughout the three races, score big points, you might be able to have a final say in the standings next week.
Yeah, and this is interesting as well, this track, as you can't see it on the track back in front of you, but your eyes will actually be tracking left to right, not right to left at the bottom of your screen from the start finish straight. So we do run in a counterclockwise direction, pretty much the only major track that does it. And obviously, we're in February. It's not a hugely warm time as it is, but for the weather like this, 19 degrees is pretty comfortable. When it comes to the south of France and Nîmes, you would expect it to be a little bit warmer than that, so might make it a little bit easier for these guys. But Evan, look, we had Snetterton last week, another brilliant night for Jason Smith. He was our driver of the day once again and shoots his way right back up to the top of the standings. But it's incredibly tight as we head into these last two evenings of the championship.
Yeah, it is. It's a very important evening in the championship. It seems like we found our four real championship challengers: Ronan Doherty, Jason Smith, Jason Cooper, and Jordan Kelly. And Jason Smith put the pressure on those last week by taking two wins and a pole position. He'll be looking to follow suit similar here this evening. He is quickest in the practice so far, so that's a good thing for him. And another thing he can maybe compete with the likes of Jordan Kelly and stuff is this is a new experience for all of them here this evening. So it's sort of level footing for them all. And I think it could be very close once again, just like Snetterton.
Yeah, massively. And a track that's going to be very, very difficult to overtake on. We'll take you through the track in a few minutes' time. But I just want to remind you, Gantry TV on YouTube, subscribe to us there. You will have the, subscribing there gets you a chance to comment in on the stream. And we do, obviously, of course, read out every comment that is there. So why don't we take the opportunity now as we're finishing up practice? We're on a bit early, or maybe we're just starting a little bit late because we'll have a 15-minute qualifying session coming up. Have a look at the overall championship standings, starting with the B series. That will be, I suppose, a little bit wider, the gap. Damon McMullen leading Dave Collier in that one, 432 plays 394. Then you've David Freeman, Aaron Dalton, and Finlay Melvin in that. And a shout out as well for number 9, Kevin Joyce, unfortunately throwing away his championship hopes by being so selfish as to be on the Labour ward with his partner this evening. What kind of commitment does that show you, Evan, to be missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime to potentially win the B series here at RTA by attending the birth of your own child?
Yeah, I know. It's an absolute ridiculous thing to even consider. And yeah, no, very disappointing to see Kevin maybe making that choice and not pursuing his battle with Wanton for eighth in the beast. We wish Kevin all the best. We hope everything goes well this evening or tomorrow. And yeah, we look forward to hear the positive news in the Discord server after. But the B Series, look, if you're thinking in McMullen, you're can't come into this evening. He's got a nice, healthy margin now, maybe one we haven't seen all season. And he's just got to drive it home now to the finish and take the title.
Yeah, extremely consistent is Damo and doing a super job in this series. Very at home with these Formula Ford cars. But Dave Collier is still in there, and of course, We do have 3 races each evening. So we have 3 races tonight and 3 races next week in Phillip Island to round out the series. So plenty of opportunities to points scored there. Now we take a look over to the A Championship, but that's where it really begins to hot up at the top of the standings. 367 is Ronan Doherty, top of the standings. My apologies. I made a mistake earlier by saying Jason Smith. I'm surprised that Jason Smith isn't at top of our standings, actually, given the week that he had last week. Then you have Jason Cooper, Jordan Kelly, all 342. So when you look back at that, there's only about 25 points separates first to fourth place. And with 30 points going for each race, and we have obviously 6 of these races left in the season, that gap is really not that much.
No, it really isn't. And we've seen swapping and changing in this championship throughout the last 6 weeks. And that could definitely change. There's 30 points for a win in each race. We do 3 races, so that gap is not large at all. That is only a handful of spaces in maybe even one race, and it could swap and change. So if you're Ronan, you got to come out with the mindset that you have to win each race. Pretty much the mindset for all of them, I think, coming into the last 2 evenings. But as we've found, that's very difficult to do when you have a high caliber driver.
Yeah, and I suppose, like, as we say, the fact that the drivers don't really know this track that well means that it's really kind of open season this evening, isn't it? I mean, Phillip Island is known reasonably well. I remember going there with the V8 supercars a couple of years ago, so some guys will have some experience with that. But if you're the likes of a Jason Smith or a Jason Cooper, you'll be really hoping that tonight could be the night where you start to really make a stake at the championship, because of the fact that, like, it's such open season with the track being so relatively unknown.
Yeah, and we saw that Okayama, which was maybe a little bit on the unknown side as well, probably a little bit more known than Ledenon. We saw Jason Smith and Ronan Doherty perform well there. So I think it's just whoever adapts quickest here this evening. Whoever adapts quickest will be able to take the biggest points, and the 2 Jasons will hope that it is them and get a foothold back in this championship battle.
So let's have a look at the track, this Ledenon circuit, just outside Nîmes, as we said, in the south of France, 25 miles northeast. Built in the 1970s by wife Jean-Claude and Sylvie Bondurant. And here is Jordan Kelly. It's a much less exotic name, but a fast guy nonetheless. Now, we begin, as we say, going counterclockwise into the triple gauche. That is a really tricky one. A lot of these, you'll see a lot of similarities here as he goes as wide as possible to bring it back in Jordan, and turns 1, 2, and 3 as he heads down towards Pont, the very tight right-hander. A lot of these braking points are downhill. So you start to come uphill out of the corners, you exit on the uphill, but you enter corners on the downhill. So as you enter those corners on the downhill, obviously the car is not only moving away from you, but you have to be very, very careful with how you brake. That particular corner we just saw there, Carreras, the turn 6, you really have to get on the brakes kind of early. We see it again here now for Camion and Cavalet. You have to get on the brakes early and try and just prize the car in there, because if you step on the brakes too hard, you're downhill, all the gravity is pushing you away from the corners, pushing the back away, and you have a great opportunity to spin your tires and spin around. So we expect to see some of that, particularly early on in cold tires. You see now Jordan battling with the car through Servi. Here's the right-hander as you get down towards the Corvette. This left-hander now, you need to kind of sacrifice the speed, stay left as much as you can to attack this corner. Big, heavy banking here on this left-hander of Corvette as you go back up the hill and over the top of that hill. Very similar to Oulton Park, up on top over the hill to get towards the final straight. So the kind of keys to this track really are about balance. You need to keep the car balanced going through the corners as much as you can, because the back end will want to step out. As you see here, you need to use as much of the track as possible. And I know we say that a lot with lots of tracks, but particularly here, you need to be very careful of some of the curbing around here, particularly in these Formula Ford 1600 cars. They're extremely light, which makes them very nifty to turn, but difficult then when it comes to the corners. So you can see how careful Hans Mollet, and we'll talk a little bit about him later on, is on these corners. Because if you attack them too steeply, you lose the front end and you start spearing off. And the major thing is brake early, brake light. Don't ask too much of those tires underneath you. So a really tricky one for these guys to get their heads around, and it's going to be very hard to figure out where to pass here as well.
Yeah, it is. The heavy braking zones down the hill are going to be a big, big problem for some of these drivers. If you brake too late, you'll find yourself off the circuit fairly quickly, and that can leave you maybe in a gravel trap in a wall, and you lose big places, you lose big points. You don't want to do that, but as you said, Kevin, absolutely spot on. You have to maximize track usage here. You've got to make sure that you run pretty much as far off the circuit as you can before picking up those track limit penalties.
Yeah, I mean, those track limits penalties will almost certainly come into it because you're really on the edge all the time here around the Ledenon circuit. A reminder of what we have for you this evening. We have currently going through 6 minutes of qualifying. That precedes race one. You can see they're 10 minutes long. The grid is set by qualifying. Then from race one, we go straight into race two. No rest for the wicked. 15 minutes with the grid set by race one. Then a little bit of a pause, a chance to check in with some of the drivers before we head into the, I suppose, quote unquote feature race, the longest race of the evening, 20 minutes. Front eight gets swapped and 9 through the rest of the grid stay as they are. As you see, their drive-through penalty at 15x, disqualification at 20x. We have seen these guys hit those limits before, particularly the drive-through at 15x. And of course, a reminder that there are 30 points up for grabs in all 3 of these races. So the 10-minute race is as valuable as the 15-minute race, which is as valuable as the 20-minute race. And as you'll see over the course of the evening, guys who may qualify, I don't know, maybe 7th or 8th, because we have an open qualifying system here, they bide their time, they get back up to the front of the grid, they have good evenings for themselves. So particularly here, Evan, it's a case of survival and avoidance as much as anything else.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit survival of the fittest, really. If you do have a poor qualifying, that's not the worst in the world. There'll be drivers who make mistakes come the race. There'll be drivers who run wide, go off the track, maybe even involved in a few incidents, and you'll be able to work your way through the field. But another thing about working your way through the field is not a lot of big overtaking opportunities here at this track, like we might have saw last week in Snetterton or some of the other British circuits. It's quite up and down, and there's a lot of lefts and rights and flows with a lot of maybe off camber, on camber corners. I think overtaking could be a little bit difficult here this evening. So I think any of the drivers who maybe can just keep it steady and not make too many mistakes, they might do quite well. As the old saying goes, slow and steady wins the race. Usually that's not the case in motorsport, but it might be this evening.
Yeah, could very well be. Jason Smith up the top of the timing table, you can see there with a 125.342. Just to let you know, the race lap record around here is by Sohail Ayari in a GT1 car, which are also available on the iRacing service, should you so wish. That was set in 2007. That's a 117.7. So that gives you an idea of the potential of this track. Obviously, these Formula Ford cars don't quite have the same amount of power. As we see somebody spinning off there in the background, that looks like one of the Jordan liveried cars, but I don't want to apportion any blame before I can't see. Great to see a man passing through the front of your screen there, Hans Mollet. We're talking about the Labour Ward. He took last week off for his girlfriend's birthday, so we should expect to see him out sometime in around 9 months' time for the birth of his first child. But other than that, it's great to see him back because he runs an enormous amount of laps. He claims he works 50 hours a week, makes dinners, and still has time to run 400 laps. So how this guy manages, he is not procrastinating, is Hans Mollet, to be fair to him.
Oh, there was a bit of driver coaching being given from Hans in the Discord server earlier as well. I can't remember who it was to, but he was showing someone a new racing line. I thought that was nice of him to share his insights with the competition. But yeah, Hans back this week, currently 4th in qualifying. Look, it's not too bad, although being a new track, if he did get as many laps under his belt this week, that could certainly be a big advantage to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine he who works the hardest shall reap the rewards this week. But also, I do think it's a great opportunity for those guys who just have that kind of raw talent. We were talking about that battle before, raw talent versus laps under the belt. But like, obviously, because a lot of these drivers haven't really got a chance to see the track, it's the guys who are kind of intimately kind of au fait with how the car works and you know how to control it without needing to run all those laps. They'll find themselves, and I suppose also, you know, the more feel you have, the more you're able to react to situations because you're not just driving that one line. You're very happy to, try and escape in different ways. I think that's Ronan Doherty following Hans Mallet, so he's certainly having a look to see what Hans is doing. Ronan's down in fifth at the moment with a 126.2, so he's a little bit off the pace, our championship leader. So just taking the opportunity to see what 300 laps around the circuit looks like. And where he can make those little improvements. Only 4 minutes left in qualifying, and some guys like Guan Ji Lin, Chris Knock, Sean McClemens doing quite well for themselves already.
Yeah, Jamal Gandor putting in a good lap as well there, as there goes John McDonald up to 11th position. But it is a familiar side of the top. It's Jason Smith, Jason Cooper and Jordan Kelly. It seems like no matter where we go, Kevin, that those three will be somewhere in contention for the race win.
Yeah, absolutely. They always seem to be up and around the front, and it's no coincidence that they're always there, driving these superb Formula Ford 1600 machines. Gavin Ray, we still try to want to get him on. Hopefully, we'll have him on for the finale. We need to get RTA on that to try and make sure we get Gavin in to have a quick chat with us for the end of the season about these superb 1600 Formula Ford 1600 cars. Just a complete overhaul for a car that's one of the oldest that's still competing and winning 50 years on from the original model of it. So yeah, great to see it. It really has been a superb steed for this championship. It's only been added to iRacing last year, but it's provided some superb racing in this championship.
Yeah, it's been a good car. It's been really good. It's provided us with some good racing. It has a perfect mix of being difficult to drive and also being easy enough to pick up for some folk. So yeah, it's been a great car. I hope we get to speak to Gavin at some point next week. So Gavin, if you're watching, you know what we require. We require you here with myself and Kevin this time next Tuesday.
Yeah, if we could do it, so can you, certainly. So it'd be great to see him. No major change at the top of the timing tables. Damien McMullen looking down through the standings. He's a good bit behind David Freeman, though I don't see Dave Collier there either. So that we shall remains to see what happens with the B Championship. But certainly Damien McMullen putting himself in a very, very strong position for that championship, and a guy who's obviously very, very well known around Mondello Park, really thriving in the B Championship with these cars.
Yeah, he is. He's doing an excellent job, and the B Championship. Look, it's still as competitive as the other championship. Although we might put more emphasis on that one sometimes on the shows, it is very important to acknowledge how well Damo is driving in that B Championship and doing a good job to lead it and control it from the front. Really, I think as long as I've been here since the second round of the season, Damien has been leading that B Championship. So big credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly putting himself in a great position here. He's P22, still ahead of Dave Collier, who's his closest championship rival. David Freeman, as we see Lawrence de Soswa spin around. I'm sure his chat will be all over that. And obviously, Lawrence, we'll talk about his event that he has coming up in a bit as well, because that is something to mark on your calendar if you are into multi-class racing. But David Freeman, his in third place in the B Championship, currently quite a bit up the standings. He's 4 places ahead of Damien McMullen. Now, there is a big gap between them in around 50 points. So it would take something exceptional from David this week to see if he can pull some really a big gap on. Or to try and tighten that gap, should I say, on Damien McMullen. But still, Damien, another chance really for him in this position now. At this point, it's just a case of finishing races, not dropping too many points, not having any mare rounds, and just trying to be as consistent as he can until the end.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just got to keep it on the road, keep picking up the steady results, do exactly what he's done all season, and then he will hopefully take home that B Championship. But only about 10 seconds to go here in qualifying. Jason Smith is in the pit lane, and Jordan Kelly will follow suit. Hans Mollett with a great qualifying up to third, but it seems like Jason Smith is once again the pace setter. He's taken this is fourth pole position by my count of the season. He's doing an excellent job, and he's on pole for the first race.
Yeah, pole for the first race, as we almost come to expect from Jason Smith. So our standings, and look at that in P8 all the way down. I'll leave you take us through the qualifying results as we grid up for race one, but some surprising results nonetheless.
Yeah, Jason Smith on pole. It's actually his 5th pole position. Apologies, I got that one wrong. Jordan Kelly lines up alongside him in 2nd position. Hans Mollett then in 3rd. Great job from Hans in the number 333, potentially representing the practice laps, but we'll leave that up to the imagination. Jason Cooper then in 4th. Chris Knox in 5th position ahead of Sean McClements in 6th, and Juan Ji Lin continuing his good form from Snetterton in 7th. Ronan Doherty in 8th position. Sean McGoldrick in 9th, and then the other McClements, brother of Dylan, in 10th. Tony Stack and Connor Melia line up 11th and 12th, and Lawrence de Soswa, despite the spin, good qualifying in 13th. Peter McCann then in 14th with John McDonald in 15th. Jamal Gandor lines up in 16th ahead of Wingfei Chan, David Freeman, and then it's Gary Corcoran, Colin Carrigan, Dermot Toomey, Damien McMullen, Philip Upton, and Eric Guiar in 24th place. So maybe a little bit of a mixed up grid, some good qualifying across the board. Apologies, we have 2 more. We've Jared Thornton in 25th and then Stuart Brereton in 26th position. But I think the real challenge here, Kevin, is going to be this race, because I think if we have too wide into a couple of corners, it could lead to disaster.
Oh, 100%. And I think that Ronan Doherty, if he can stay out of trouble, could be in a great position here to capitalise, because Jordan and Jason, they are both now fighting for the championship. Up the pressure's on them as we head into this first race.
Yes, here we go for the second of our 2 flyaway rounds as we go racing at Ledenon. That's a great launch from Jordan Kelly. He's already going to be ahead well before the first corner here. Jason Smith bogging down a little bit on the start-finish line, but Jordan Kelly leads already. Smith going to try hang it around the outside, but very difficult to do so, as there's already Hans Mollett gone round in the background. Hans maybe picked up a bit of a curb or maybe clipped another driver, but he's gone spinning down the back as Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly, the fight still rages on. Jason Cooper looking to get involved. That's Smith now ahead of Kelly as we look a little bit further back. Connor Melia making up a few places, as is Sean McClements, but disaster for the Norwegian.
Yeah, disaster for Hans Mollett. So frustrating for him to put so much effort in, and then at the first corner spin out, and that of course affects the rest of your evening. Ronan Doherty already up to 5th position, Chris Knox in 4th, and Jason Smith managing to regain the lead after that little bit of a poor start from him by his standards. Doing a great job to put the pressure back on Jordan Kelly, hang it round the outside there of the triple gauche and get back into the lead of this first heat.
Yes, as you can see, just how difficult that first set of bends is, as Hans Mollett going spinning round in it. This is Ronan Doherty, who's already up to 5th, looking to take 4th off Chris Knox here. Good start from Ronan, exactly what he needed to get back into contention for this race, just using the curb there to make the track a lot wider. Ronan's got a brilliant exit out of the curvette, the final corner, and he's now going to try get the launch on Chris Knox, maybe in towards turn number 1, using the slipstream, which is very, very powerful in these cars, especially when you have a long straight. And then up the inside comes Ronan Doherty. Knox leaves adequate room on the inside, and Ronan Doherty will take that, and he will take, oh, will he actually? Because Chris Knox is trying to fight this one back up the inside. Doherty will have the outside line, which will become the inside for the next corners. They head down the hill, still 2 by 2 they go. That'll be Doherty ahead. Great move from Ronan.
Yeah, and that's the banking coming into play again, not just in that first section that we saw with Jordan Kelly, but also here with this battle in Chris Knox. It allows you, almost Talladega, that's a contact with Chris Knox and Jordan Kelly. Sean McClements unfortunately being caught up in that as well. Let's have a look at that in a bit, but it looked like just a very slight touch. I don't know how much space Chris Knox gave Ronan Doherty there, because Doherty, I don't think he could leave it any later to turn in, but it would be interesting to see here what your thoughts are, Evan. Chris isn't in it at this point. Let's have a quick look. Oh, he just lost it. Yeah. I think Chris just lost it under braking. That's a mistake there from the 24 Scott, and that could have huge implications on our championship standings.
Yeah, I think that's entirely on Chris, unfortunately. Obviously, the stewards will have multiple looks at it, but I think his mistake just led to hitting around Ronan. Don't think there's any bad intentions in it, mind you, from Chris Knox, but definitely his fault to nudge around the championship leaders. Look at this in towards turn number 1. Jason Smith getting us close to the pit wall to widen out the entry to the corner as much as possible. Jordan Kelly on the limit as per usual through this first set of bends, and it seems like we're going to follow suit from Snetterton here, and it'll be Smith against Kelly for the race 1 victory.
Yeah, Cooper's hanging in there all the time, and he'll be sniffing to these two guys go at it. As I said, with Ronan now down the order, this is a huge opportunity for both Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly to score points. So will they work together? As we've mentioned before, there's only 2 points difference between first and second. You get 30 points for first and 28 for second. So you don't lose out massively on second place, but you could potentially lose out massively if you're involved in an instance. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys work together, at least for Heat 1. Because, of course, as you look on your timing chart, where is Ronan Doherty's name? There he is in P9 behind Peter McCann, between Wan Chi Lin and Peter McCann. So I don't think Ronan's going to have a huge amount of time to make up that gap on Peter McCann, which is about 1.5 seconds. He only has around 6 minutes left. So we could see him start potentially in ninth, which would be an absolute disaster for Ronan because, of course, when we get into Heat 2, if the things stay the same, that will be a reverse grid. So Ronan is still an opportunity to start on pole or near pole for Heat 3 later on this evening. But at the moment, it's looking like a bad old evening for the Donegal native who's top of our championship as it stands.
Yeah, and with every race weighted equally, you can't afford to have too many bad ones, as we see Lawrence de Soswa and John McDonald having a good fight the last few days. There's a car getting out of the way there, I believe, of these guys who are almost halfway through the race. But yeah, Ronan, he is good at cutting through the field, but of course we have a shorter race one. It's only the 10 minutes, and there's only 5 minutes left of that, so he's going to struggle to maybe make up too many places here. He's only 6/10 adrift of Peter McCann, so he might be able to get McCann or maybe Conor Melliot, but still, he's losing out on big points unless something happens to Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly up the front. We've seen that happen before, especially last week, where Ronan Doherty went off the track and then 2 or 3 corners later, Jordan Kelly followed suit. So Ronan will be hoping for maybe a bit of bad fortune for his fellow Donegal man, but they'll be hoping to capitalise on the points deficit Ronan is losing.
No, absolutely. And a shout out as well for Sean McGoldrick. He's P6 in our championship at the moment, but running P4. So running ahead of himself. And there's a bit of a gap between himself and Sean McClements, but it will push him away, of course, from the man you see. This is the man you see, Sean McGoldrick, but Tony Stack, 2 of them are in a battle. The 2 Jordan cars are actually neck and neck in the championship, are very close by in the championship. So 20 points between them. This will give a good buffer for Sean to go ahead of Tony with Dylan, the man in the San Material. Here's Colin Carrigan being overtaken by Chris Knox, the man who was involved in that. And I would suspect that Chris will apologise. Certainly Chris under the spotlight this week following some of his antics last week, driving straight through the pit lane, not once but twice at full speed, and not showing a huge amount of remorse for that, which obviously is naturally enough not going to be viewed very kindly by those who put all the effort in organising these races. So I suspect that the Chris will be under quite a heavy eye, and obviously, look, no intention in that mistake, but a mistake nonetheless as the spotlight's on him. So it will be interesting to see where Chris Knox's standings lie. As we look at Ronan Doherty now making up places, we said it was too long of an opportunity, but he's after getting by Peter McCann, Conor Melliot, and Tony Stack. All the cars you see in that picture in front of you, Ronan's after overtaking. So he's now in 6th place. So could potentially be not as bad a night as we were fearing.
Yeah, Tony Stack running very wide there at one point as well. I thought he was going to lose a few more places, but he didn't, as we see Wan Chi Lin overtaking Conor Melliot. Yeah, spot on with what you were saying about Chris Knox as well, Kevin. Obviously, when the spotlight is on you and from the stewards are the ones who decide if you race or not. The last thing you want to do is punt out the championship leader 3.5 or 4 minutes into your first race back. So very unfortunate there for Chris. Look, we'll see what happens after this evening in the stewards room in regards to that. But focus now for Chris and for Ronan is just to get back in these races and pick up as many points as they can, as seems a bit of a issue for Philip Upson there, who I think has gone into the pit lane. But the battle for the race lead still rages on, coming up on the 2 minutes to go mark, and it's a very similar situation. Jason Smith defending from Jordan Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly. And just to touch on that Chris Knox situation just before I suppose we move away from it totally, I do think Chris can count himself very lucky to be even racing tonight. So
Great.
yeah, I think he's lucky to be here. So look, I think he'll have to be on his best behavior now in the next two races. But as we say, no intention that, and that is that's one of the reasons why we love this car. It's a tricky one to drive. It doesn't have ABS. Things like that can happen. As we see Sean McClemens dive down the inside there for a lovely overtake on Colin Carrigan going into P13. But yeah, just needs to be on his best behavior going forward. Sean McClemens here in the team DDR number 6. Thanks to Ronan Conroy as well for getting into us on YouTube. Remember, you can subscribe to us on the YouTube channel if you're enjoying the racing tonight, and comment in, and we'll have a chat. We're always up for a chat with the very many people who follow us on our YouTube channel. But yeah, only to about a minute and 5 seconds left, so we can expect maybe one more lap, Evan Dalton.
Yeah, maybe one more, I think, as we just see Tony Stack and Juan G. Lin side by side through the triple gauche of turn number 1, 2, and 3, and then in towards the right-hander of 4. That's a great move from Juan G. Lin. Juan G is a very underrated driver, I think, in this series. He's always clean, provided some good overtakes, and of course beat our championship leader Ronan Doherty last week in a drag race to the line at Snetterton. So Juan G is up to 8th position. A good move there, but this battle probably not over just yet, as you see Peter McCann running a little bit wide. Ronan has managed to catch up to Dylan McClements, as McClements just running a little bit wide. Sorry, Ronan followed suit, so that's probably the racing line through there. Just use up as much of the track as you can, but it looks like Ronan might be able to take 5th place here, and that is not a bad job. We have 10 seconds to go. I think this could be the last lap, actually, as they're heading through what is turn 14 now. Yeah, this is going to be the last lap of the race as the checkered flag is waved. Jason Smith will come home to familiar territory, and that is a first place finish. Jason doing exactly what he needs to do to capitalise on Ronan's misfortune. Ronan, speaking of the devil, has overtaken Dylan McClemens for 5th place.
Yeah, a great recovery drive from Ronan Doherty there, given the position that he's in, as we see Sean McGoldrick cross for 4th, and then 5th and 6th in Doherty and McClemens. And a race to the line there between Lawrence Juan G. Lin and Peter McCann. And looks like Peter's got the jump. Looks like the Earn Tiles sponsored number 18 car has managed to get over the line ahead of Juan G. Lin. A great drive there from Peter as we get to the end of this first heat. But not necessarily as much drama as we've seen in other races, but certainly for Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly and Jason Cooper, they'll take that. That's eking away at Ronan Doherty's gap all the time.
Yeah, Ronan did a very good job nonetheless. It's come back to 5th in that one. He is very good at that, is Ronan coming back from misfortune. But yeah, Jason Smith closing the gap there slowly, as I believe we have an instant replay here coming up on our screens. This is the Knox and Doherty incident heading up the hill. This was in towards turn number 6, I believe, as we get another look at it. Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Chris Knox, because if he didn't have a car in front of him, we probably would have barely even noticed that mistake. But that's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And Ronan Doherty and himself, and was that Sean McClemens as well, I believe, were sent down the field.
Yeah, and to give Chris his fair dues as well, after that accident, he didn't pull back out across track. He didn't do anything silly. He actually even waited for, I think that was Sean McClemens, am I right in saying, in the DDR car behind him, to actually go past him before he rejoined the circuit. And even on his rejoin, he kind of stayed off the racing line. So, I mean, credit where credit is due. We've seen some pretty
Trying to get
horrific
back in the good
rejoins.
books.
Yeah, well, you see even some of the top split stuff, you see some of the rejoins that happen there, and you wonder how these guys end up where they are. But for Jason Smith, we're not really surprised that he ended up where he is. He's the winner in Heat 1, Evan.
He is. Pole and race 1 win is a trend now for Jason Smith, I feel, but he might have to work a little bit harder over the longer distance. The good thing for Jason Smith is he's very good at defending, and this track certainly promotes good defending. But here is your Heat 1 results. It is Smith, Kelly, Cooper, McGoldrick, Doherty, McClemens, McCann, Lane, Stack, Melia, then followed by Chris Knox, De Soswa in 12th position. But we're going to get going here for Heat number 2 as the red lights are coming on. It's a 15-minute heat for the second race of the evening as we go racing in Ledenon once again. It's another good start from Kelly, but I think Smith has got away a little bit better this time round. Yes, he has. Jason Cooper has actually got the best start of the 3, I think. Sean McGoldrick is going to look to try make a move as well. as apologies, my screen just froze there, Kevin.
Yeah, so I just got out. I didn't know whether to jump in or not. But anyway, we are on board now looking at Sean McGoldrick with his battle here at Ronan Doherty, the championship leader. And Doherty, we want to be very careful because he got caught out at this corner last time with somebody going to the back of him. So he's be hoping that Sean McGoldrick doesn't do the same. McGoldrick sends it down the inside, and Doherty's forced to try and work the opposite line as that earned tiles. Number 7, it's all, what we're going to say, there's cracks in the tiles appearing there for Peter McCann as he goes off the outside of the track and overtaken by Tony Stack in another iconic livery. I don't know what's more iconic, the Earn Tiles yellow or the 7-Up sponsor Jordan livery, as we see that three-way battle going on there. Dylan McClemens around the outside of Sean McGoldrick getting the job done as this is back and forth between these two. This is the kind of battling we love to see here in RTA, as these two guys, plenty of respect, plenty of space given, but superb battling nonetheless.
Yeah, cracking little battle here between Sean McGoldrick and Dylan McClemens. I think at this point the Earn Tiles livery is probably more iconic than the 7-Up Jordan one. As some problems for Jamal Gandor down the field. He's losing a couple of spots, but we're looking at the battle for the race lead. Jordan Kelly is going for this one in towards the first couple of corners. Chris Knox making a move on Tony Stack in the background as well. No joy for Kelly this time around, though. Smith stays ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd even call it a battle, because we were talking, obviously, we've said it a few times on the stream, that not only in iRacing, but also these real cars, you are able to bump draft. There's a bit of a crumple zone on the nose, the gearbox is flat at the back, and that looks like what Jordan's doing. He's just pushing Jason away so the two of them get away from Jason Cooper. Normally when we hear these guys talking after the race, they say, look, we work together up until about the 2-second or penultimate or last lap, and then we just agree to go for it. We agree to have a good old ding dong over the last couple of corners. So I wonder, are these guys trying to create that gap between the two of them and the lead and the rest of the pack, particularly away from Ronan Doherty, leave him get sucked in with Jason Cooper, leave them have their own battle, and then Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly can have a go then in the last couple of races. As we're looking at this battle right down the field, this is Sean McClemens, Wan Ji Lin and Peter McCann involved in this one. And obviously the focus, as we say, is on the leaders, but even in the A Championship, as you go down, there's some fiercely competitive battling all the way right down. I mean, you look at the gaps, there's a bit of a gap between Jason Cooper and Ronan Doherty, but then you have to go all the way down between Conor Mellion and John McDonald, 13th and 14th, to find a gap that's over a second. So it's really, really close battling all the way around this Circuit de Ledenon.
Yeah, and even then further down the order, there is some really close battles as well, as we see some close battles out on track as well. McClemens is trying to defend from Peter McCann behind him, and Wan Ji Lin, that is as well in this fight as they head down the hill. But we really are seeing, Kevin, that this track is more difficult to overtake on than maybe some previous.
Yeah, I know it is, absolutely. I mean, it's a narrow track, it's very highly banked, it's very hard to try and run alternative lines, as we see Peter showing plenty of grit there in the 18 car to keep off Wan Chi Lin. But yeah, it is one of those tracks where, as you see, Wan Chi just slightly losing the back end with the corners, as Damien Mullen, now your B Championship leader, going toe-to-toe with Gary Corcoran, who's currently, I think, 4th in the championship there, if I'm right in saying. So yeah, it's there's some great battling, but as you say, it's very hard to get past. You're kind of really depending on a bit of a mistake from the guy in front, as opposed to overly aggressing. It's more kind of a making sure that the guy in front of you knows you're there, trying to get in his mirrors, trying to make life difficult for him so that he makes the mistake, as opposed to trying to force your way through.
Yeah, you're kind of relying on the guy in front to make the error, as you said, Kevin, as we look at Lawrence de Soswa behind Peter McCann here heading up to the hill. There's a bit of movement in front there, actually. This is Sean McClemens and Tony Stack. Stack on the outside, McClemens on the inside. McClemens, the inside line, arguably the better through these couple of corners, but then it changes because it is a right-hander after the triple left, and that is Sean McClemens getting the job done. Looks like Lawrence de Soswa is going to try and follow suit and get past Tony Stack up the inside. No joy here. Still a little bit too far back.
Yeah, a little bit too far back to make that move, but that gap closing all the time. We're only a third of the way through this race, the second race, remember, as that gap now between Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly has really, really opened up. So I wonder, did Jordan make a mistake over the course of that at one point? Because that gap was very, very close between those two. And now Jordan's at risk of potentially being caught by Jason Cooper, because that slipstream will soon be broken between Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly. And obviously, this is a track that doesn't have that many long straights, but all the same, that slipstream does give you a bit of a speed boost, particularly coming out of the exits of these corners as you go uphill.
As we see here, as you head uphill, how quickly the corners can maybe chuck you out of them. As we saw the man in front here of this battle, Lawrence de Sosma, run a little bit wide. He is defending from Conor Melia and Peter McCann. As problems for McGoldrick in front. McGoldrick's gone off. He's losing spaces quickly, and he's going to end up behind Peter McCann here as they head up the hill to start the 6th lap of the race here. Race 2, of course, if you're just joining us. And it seems like de Sosma was going to have his hands full here with Conor Melia trying to work it up the inside. McCann trying to play it smart and just keep out of trouble and maybe sneak his way through. But no, see, once again, they all just fall into line here. And Peter McCann has to stay in 12th.
Yeah, and I suppose Peter's afraid that he might get slated over the course of this evening if he doesn't get a move on. So certainly he won't be treating his car as if it's made out of porcelain as he goes to try and break into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely spot on there. And we can see Juan Ji Lin looking for a move on Tony Stark as they head down the hill. But up front, actually, just a quick look at the gap. Jason Smith has managed to pull away from Jordan Kelly. It's not something you see an awful lot, as Lynn and Stack, bit of a side-by-side moment there, as we see once again Tony Stack now ahead of Juan Ji Lin. But yeah, just look at the gap there between Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly. It's increasing.
Yeah, it's getting bigger all the time, and that's absolutely plays into the hands of Jason Smith absolutely perfectly. Again, Ronan Doherty, 4th place. There isn't a massive amount between 1st place and 4th place, but you multiply that by times 2. Of course, Ronan slipping into 5th in Heat 1. You begin to chisel away at that lead, and that's something that Peter McCann is hoping to do here. Just chisel away as best he can in the number 18 car. Ahead of Conor Melia. Peter just sliding there a little bit, hoping that there'll be a little bit of grit. Oh yeah, I see that now. Mistake by Conor Melia, and he's at somebody in the that's, I think, is John McDonald, is it? Almost going, sorry, Sean McGoldrick, almost going into the side of Peter McCann, and that would have absolutely cracked his race totally. We'll have a look there now at Sean McGoldrick, that battle there with Peter McCann. McGoldrick's just getting a little bit wobbly, and you look at Melia there on the outside, just a Tokyo drift around the outside in the 56 car. Then the two of them coming together. Oh, contact. Oh no, and the following car coming in and hitting him as well. Didn't quite see who that was. Could it be Stuart Brereton? No, it's not Stuart Brereton. It's oh God, can't think of who's running a white livery. It's Colin Carrigan. Sorry, my apologies. Colin Carrigan is in the B Championship. Would we call that a racing incident? I think it's fair to say. Oh, there's Peter McCann. He's lost it. McCann
he
has lost it.
Very unfortunate for McCann, because he was just involved in that incident, and McCann ends up spinning round. Very, very unfortunate for about 3 or 4 drivers in that last lap there. There was a couple of moments. But yeah, Kevin, I think we just have to call that a racing incident. There was cars everywhere. It's very difficult to control. Let's look at this one. This is Dylan McClemens and Chris Knox, I believe. McClemens trying the long way around the outside. Oh, this isn't going to pay off, surely. No, it doesn't. Chris Knox manages to stay ahead there of the young man. Big lunge down the inside from Dylan McClemens. That one's going to work all the same. That is brave from McClemens, and he's got the job done, but Knox is going to try it again. No, falls into line behind.
Yeah, a very audacious move from McClemens. Oh, is that a touch? I actually just missed that there because I thought that McClemens had gotten the job done. We're seeing an awful lot more contact now in this second race than we did in the first. Let's have a look at that on the Gantry TV instant replay. Thanks to Roland Herdeman for all his work in the background getting that done. So you see that audacious move by Dylan McClemens down the inside. They almost touched there. Chris swaps to the inside. McClemens on the outside, and Dylan McClemens just lost the back himself, by himself. Too much speed, and there's only a certain amount of friction that those four, I think I'm going to say Pirellis provide Dylan McClements, and unfortunately he goes around by himself. Chris Knox, certainly not the guilty character here. We're going to look at Jason Cooper and Jordan Kelly, though. This battle is developing. You look at that gap now, Jordan Smith and Jordan Kelly, or Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly, 2 seconds. Absolutely enormous in the context of this championship, which shows me, and I'm sure it shows you the same thing, Evan. Jordan Kelly has a big problem on his hands now with Jason Cooper.
Yes, he does, as Kelly has just dropped the pace a little bit in these last few laps. Smith has managed to get away out front, and he has a comfortable lead here, and can definitely win this one from here to the end. If he can win it with Kelly 5 tenths behind him, he can certainly win with Kelly 2 seconds behind him, and Jason Cooper will be looking to capitalise and take second place here in this one. Ronan Doherty in fourth. Yeah, fourth is still a good result, but he's being outscored by the 3 men behind him in the championship, so unfortunately for Ronan Doherty here, it's not shaping up to be the most profitable evening points-wise, but he will still start ahead of them. As it stands, of course, in race number 3, but I could have well just put the kiss of death on all of them, and the typical commentator's curse that usually I provide in this championship, but there is Sean McGoldrick making a move. That is now McGoldrick up to 20th place, I believe.
Yeah, it's a pity for Sean McGoldrick. Obviously, hadn't such a good race 1 and then putting himself in prime position to get a good result in race 2 to find himself now down in 20th or 21st, should I say, as we see these piling through this superb section here to close out the lap that is Corvette, the kind of left, right, left, as you see the 1600s. No error, of course, in these cars. They're having to throw themselves into it. Hans Mollet back up to 14th place. He's made up a few positions over the course of the evening, of course, spinning out from a very good position earlier on this evening. So opportunity for the Norwegian to try and take back some time as we see this battle now between Jason Cooper and Jordan Kelly continuing. Jason getting very close to the back there of Jordan's 99 car, and that will, of course, leave Jason Cooper a little bit further behind now. These guys are obviously very used to racing with each other. We've seen very close battling between them in the last couple of weeks. Seem to be getting a lot more comfortable with these 1600 cars and how close they can get to each other in terms of close racing. So with 3 minutes left, perhaps 2 laps left, I would expect to see Jason starting to try and push the tempo now soon.
Yeah, I think he's going to try force an error from Jordan, or try make a move sooner rather than later. But Jordan has picked up the pace here. They're catching in on the race leader a little bit, but might be too little too late. We'll have to see. It's it's not the longest lap of the season, but it is substantial enough. So we will potentially have 2 more laps maybe, as they'll come across the start finish line now, heading through the final corner. That is a strong exit though for Jason Cooper. He might look to go for a move in towards the first corner here as Jason Smith leads us across that start finish line now. A 1/10.5 separating Cooper and Kelly. Who can break the leader? Seems to be Kelly on this occasion. Jordan Kelly, we saw it on his hot lap that he provided us before the racing this evening. Very quick through this first sector, so that might be enough to save him here, as it seems the big overtaking opportunities are in this first sector, specifically through, of course, turn number 1s, 2 and 3, and then this braking zone 5, where we saw McClements make a lunge down the inside earlier in the race.
Yeah, it really is. Overtaking is at a premium, and as we say, it's about trying to force your opponent into as many mistakes as you can. You see that 35 car all over the back of Jordan Kelly's 99, which is a great thing for Jason to do, just to hover in the mirrors as much. Jordan obviously is a superb driver, but every single driver on this grid is capable of a mistake. And especially with the clock counting down, we're getting closer and closer to the end of this championship, the pressure begins to ramp up, and it remains to be seen. As now that's Jaden Cooper going down the inside. He's found his opportunity. He's going to try and make the move work there. Can't quite get it done though, does Jason Cooper. But again, just reminding Jordan Kelly that he's there, and now Jordan's going to have to look in his mirror, because he knows that if he leaves the door open any way at all, Jason will be straight in it. Not a great exit there from Jordan Kelly. It gives Jason an opportunity to chase him down the main straight going into this first corner. And again, Evan, he's going to have to have a really strong first section to keep the second place.
Yeah, he is, as Jason Cooper now going for a bit of an outside line, trying something a little bit different. He's going to try thread the needle around the outside. This is brave stuff from Jason Cooper as they come back into camera shot. Jordan Kelly just about remaining ahead. Cooper look, he was optimistic to get that one done around the outside, but it'll be a big lunge down the inside here for Jason Cooper. As the lap traffic gets out of the way, they almost tap wheels and send each other around, but just about. It's close, it's precise, it is really perfect racing. And oh, that's so close in towards the hairpin at turn number 6. I think, though, that little bit of a stamp on the brakes needed from Cooper to avoid Kelly might just give Kelly the advantage here to the finish.
Yeah, I think Jordan went a little bit earlier than Jason expected him. We almost saw a repeat of the Chris Knox incident there, although I do feel that Jordan braked a little bit earlier than even we're used to seeing him. So I think Jason just got a little bit caught out there by Jordan's decision. But 0.5 of a second now, that should be enough to see Jordan Kelly home in second. But this man, Jason Smith, once again, gridding first, finishing first, 2 races in a row. It's been an impeccable 7th round for him thus far here at Ledenon, as Jason Smith crosses the line to take Heat 2 of the 7th round of the RTA Ray Racing Formula Ford 1600 series. Jordan Kelly battling away with Jason Cooper, finishing second, and our championship leader Ronan Doherty getting some very useful points nonetheless in fourth.
Yeah, solid performance once again from Jason Smith. Did what he had to do. And top 4 in the championship, top 4 on the circuit. That bodes nicely into the final round. Lawrence de Soswa in 10th, just crossing the line, and it's Melia and McCann. Jamal Gandor just crossing here now as well. He'll be followed by Hans Mollet in 14th position. And then we have a few more battles here to the home. This is Philip Upson, who's looking to get past our B championship leader, Damien McMullen. McMullen in 18th spot, just finishing a few spaces behind David Freeman, but is doing enough here to still have a healthy gap come Phillip Island.
Yeah, Damien just doing a really good job, doing exactly what we said that he should do. Keep in the race, keep your nose clean, keep getting reasonably good results. I think P18 in the B Championship is quite good as things go. I know, obviously, he had Colin Carrigan ahead of him, but really, if you're Damien McMullen, it's just a case of just try and get as many consistent results as you can, which is exactly what he did. We're hoping to speak to some of the lads now. I think we have Jordan Kelly in the interview booth. So, Evan, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, absolutely. As we hear now from Jordan Kelly. Jordan, you're under big pressure there in that race, but you managed to take home second place. How difficult was that to defend from Jason Smith?
I was just had a I was sweating that race. It's one of these tracks where it's just so hard to be consistent. Like we're playing the Jason for pulling away. Like I don't know where he's found that pace. It's just another level. Like, but now I'm happy to take 2 seconds. Keep up the consistency, I suppose.
Of course, this track is very different to what we might be used to and what you might be used to in some of the British circuits. It's up and down, it's left and right. How difficult, or depending on your opinion on it, how fun is this track to drive?
It's definitely a fun track to drive when you get it right, but when you get it wrong, it's just one of the tracks. It's just a disaster. There's one line through it, and if you don't get that line, it's done. Like it's just what I describe it as is a just knock hill on the most amount of steroids you could possibly find. Like it's an interesting one now, but hopefully some good racing now in the reverse grid. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, just thinking of that reverse grid race, of course, you'll be starting near the back of the reverse grid, of course, finishing second. It's a difficult track for overtaking. Are you expecting it to be difficult maybe to cut through the field compared to Snetterton or Donington or any of those type of tracks?
It will be a bit hard to be fair, but to try and make a clean pass and stuff. But I think we're just having a 20-minute race. You'll just, hopefully, you'll be able to get like a podium or something. Just keep the consistency up, I suppose, and fingers crossed we don't die in the first lap, 'cause that's where all the mayhem happens. So.
Well, Jordan, we wish you the best of luck for race number 3. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll let you go
Appreciate it.
prepare for that final race of the evening.
Thank you.
Now, very interesting to hear from Jordan. Clearly finding this circuit difficult, but also finding it fun as well. And it is a bit of a fun circuit as well. So it'll be interesting to hear some other perspectives on those first 2 races, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully we'll get the 2 Jasons in together again. I feel like we always. I want to first apologize to both of you because I feel like we lump you in for all the time. It's just like, oh, we'll just bring the two Jasons in. I mean, if your names weren't both Jason, I feel like you probably wouldn't do this as often. But we are pressed for time with Heat 3 on the way. I'm going to kick off with you, Jason Smith. Can't really have asked for a better beginning. I suppose, look, you know the track, you know what it's like, you know overtaking is at a premium, so you probably knew that qualifying was so important. You must have been delighted just to get P1 to know you were going to set yourself up.
To be honest, I didn't really know what to think coming in here. I only bought the track last night and done a few laps, and I felt kind of right at home. It's a real driver's track, and you just push to the limits of the car, balancing on the brakes, and if you make a mistake, you're losing a lot of time compared to other tracks where you can gain it back. But no, this track is actually really good. I don't know what it's like for racing because I haven't raced anybody, but we'll find out in this reverse grid.
Well, that's throwing a gauntlet down to the rest of them. We'll see what Jason Cooper has to say about that in a second. You kind of answered my second question to you. You haven't had a huge amount of time to race here. How do you try and get yourself on the pace when it comes to a track that you really don't know that well?
Yeah, it's just it's just kind of in your body to learn tracks and learn every little detail and everything. It's just I know I'm good at it from real life and going to all the English tracks and being on the pace. So it's just one of them things. It's either you're good at learning a track or it takes you a bit longer than other people.
And look, another huge step forward in the championship. You saw Ronan going down the field probably earlier on. So it's a great opportunity for you now. I suppose, look, the races are counting down. We only have 4 left. So great for you to try and mount that, I suppose, launch the title, really, because you're still very much in with the chance.
Yeah, it's just about if Jason gets unlucky in some of the races, that's kind of my only way back into the championship. I've been very unlucky in this championship with incidents and that, but that's just the way racing goes sometimes. And it's just, now I'm just thinking about winning every race, just trying to win all the races and have good fun and good fights with the lads.
Yeah, well, that's what it's operandi. Jason Cooper, I'm going to very quickly ask you because Jason Smith said he hasn't had a battle with anybody. You certainly had a battle in the last race. How is this track for battling?
Yeah, I could just about keep up in the toe. In hindsight, I probably should have bought the track before last night because it takes a bit of learning.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are very short in practice. I won't leave you much longer. But I suppose, look, what are your hopes now? You're starting your P3 last race. That means you're P5 this race. I suppose another podium you'd be hoping for in the final race.
Yeah, hopefully you can have a clean race and end up on the podium again.
Perfect. Look, we're a little bit tight for time. We're going to head into Heat 3 very quickly, but both Jasons, Smith and Cooper, thank you very much for joining us. Very interesting there, Evan. Both of them only bought the track last night. So certainly not going about it in the hands way. They're just, I suppose, kind of winging it, aren't they?
Or Hans gets an awful time of us, but yeah, they are just winging it. And look, they're good drivers, and they can clearly just pick up a track the night before, learn it, and be good at it. But here's your grid for the second race. It's Dylan McClements on pole ahead of Juan G. Lin. Very intriguing front row. Then Sean McClements, Chris Knox, Ronan Doherty, Jason Cooper, Jordan Kelly, Jason Smith, Tony Stack. Then it's Lawrence de Soswa, Connor Melia, and Peter McCann. But we're ready to go here for the third race of the evening. It's McClements on pole position as we go racing in Ledenon for the final time. Juan G. Lin seems to have got a fairly decent getaway. Ronan Doherty with an excellent getaway, already taking a space as Juan G. Lin going to try the outside maybe on McClements. It seems like it's going to be McClements and McClements versus Lin in towards this first corner because Dylan's brother Sean is trying a move down the inside of Lin in towards the third and fourth corners. He'll now have the inside line maybe for turn number 5 as they head down here. On the inside goes Sean McClements as he looks to get the traction out of the corner. Oh, doesn't quite, as there's a bit of contact between the two. Lin does an excellent job to keep the car on the track.
Yeah, Sean doing a great job of older brother there at taking out anybody who could potentially be a threat to his younger brother. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that, but certainly sticking up for the wee man there in the opening rounds. As you see Ronan Doherty slipping through the second place. He got past Chris Knox already. He was hoping to do that, I'd say. He was a little bit worried given what had happened earlier on, but slipped through him into second place. Great opportunity now for Ronan Doherty to make a real pass at winning this final race and making really what could have been a terrible evening not so bad after all.
Yeah, good move from Chris Knox there with the inside. He's trying to follow Ronan Doherty to maybe pick himself up a good result in the final race of the evening. McClement's now down to 4th under some pressure from Jordan Kelly, who said it'll be difficult enough to make a clean pass, but he'll try his best, and he's doing a good job at it because he's already up to 5th place. Tony Stack doing a good job, as well as just hearing Jason Cooper has had a bit of an incident there, Kevin.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to look back on that, because we didn't quite see what happened there as Jordan Kelly slips down the inside of Sean McClements into 4th position. This is a really clean battle, and at the back of that train as well is Jason Smith, the man who won the first 2 races. So we're just trying to see if we can get a replay of that Jason Cooper incident. One of the guys who we really thought might be pushing for the win here tonight. He went around the outside. I'm not quite sure what happened to Jason Cooper there. It looks like it could potentially be a hardware issue, because and then he got taken out by somebody late on there. That was a bit of a strange one. Jason just got stuck on the outside. It seemed like he just couldn't get back into the racing line and ended up kind of in no man's land, really, on the outside of this double right-hander before eventually being taken out by a car that just went too deep into the second part of it.
Yeah, it was a really weird one, that. It seemed like he was kind of in the mid-pack, sort of, with Hans Mollett and Peter McCann. A bit of adhesive got stuck
there's Jordan Kelly going
went
round.
over a curve. It's Jordan Kelly. Wow, goes over the curb there, and he's the next man to spin around. He's in a really difficult position here because he's got to try get this back out across the grass. It seems like this is now the race of attrition we were expecting. A couple of big names falling down.
Yeah, that's a big one now for Jordan Kelly. That could signal the end of his championship ambitions, because he hasn't managed to pick up a win tonight, which he was hoping to do. Fell further back behind Jason Smith and now spinning out and way back down in 16th position. I wonder, is that the last chance that Jordan Kelly has to win this championship evaporating in smoke? The man who has in the driving seat in this championship is Ronan Doherty. Obviously, these two are DDR brethren, and as I was just going to say, I wouldn't expect Dylan McClements is going to make it too difficult for Ronan Doherty. I don't think the 13-year-old wants to crash out essentially his Kazi older brother and mentor in Team TDR. I certainly wouldn't if I was Dylan. As we see now, Jason Smith, look at him. He's gone up an enormous amount of places in the last couple of laps, profiting on those mistakes, up into 3rd position now as Chris Knox makes it very difficult for him, though. And once again, those two coming together, Chris Knox coming together at one of the championship leaders, and just about Jason Smith managing to hold on to position. But this isn't going to be an easy one for Jason. He certainly says he hadn't had to race anybody in the interview. Well, he's got his wish now.
Yeah, might be regretting his wish a little bit as he's parked right behind Chris Knox. Chris is going to make this one difficult. I think any driver would make it difficult because they're well within their rights to look for a good result, especially when you're Chris and you have something to prove maybe to everybody else, that you're still a really quick driver and you're still can do it on the biggest stage, which would be typically the longer race here on race number 3. We saw Jordan Kelly fall down the order as Jason Cooper. Jason Smith is not looking to add his name to that list as there is a car off in front. I think that is just the lap traffic, though. Yes, it is. As Jordan Kelly, though, fastest lap of the race there. He's looking to come back as he gets past Jamal Gandor.
Yeah, Jordan's on a bit of a mission here in the 99 Team Dolan car. That was Stuart Burton, I think, going off late on the right-hand side. So thankfully, Jason Smith managing to avoid him. And of course, we've quite a packed grid here. Despite a huge grid for the opening round of Brands Hatch, but we still have retained a huge amount of drivers in this championship, which is credit to the racing and credit to those who were involved as well. So as we say, a big, I suppose, difference in standard. I think it's fair to say that's not too undiplomatic to say. You have guys like Jason Smiths and Jordan Kellys who are really up the top of their applying their trade, and then you have those guys who are really, like you and me, we're mere mortals, Heaven, and doing the best they can to try and ply their trade in the B Championship. And I certainly find it difficult to hold my own in this championship with the highest caliber of drivers. I mean, the fact that Damien McMullen is in the B Championship kind of tells you what you need to know about the caliber here. As Dylan McClement's just following Ronan Doherty very, very closely, about a quarter of the way through this feature race here at the Ledenon circuit. And to be fair, it's a circuit that a lot of these guys have only learnt last night, but it certainly hasn't inhibited their driving yet.
No, it hasn't. I think if me and you had a commentators championship, we'd somehow both end up in the B championship as
We had to taking each other out.
yeah, probably as we'd both end up banned. As McClemens just seems to be following Ronan Doherty here, maybe picking up a line or two, and maybe just following him, learning how he's taking the track. But Jason Smith is clawing them both in, so they both need to get a hurry on. As Jordan Kelly now up to 12th position, as this is Sean McGoldrick Sean McGoldrick in a battle with Conor Melia, as McGoldrick, of course, in that 7-Up Jordan livery on the inside of Conor Melia's blue Ray Racing machine. That's McGoldrick up to 10th. McGoldrick's had a bit of bad luck here this evening as well, so it's good to see him bounce back from it and try cut through the field. He's got Peter McCann and Tony Stack up ahead of him.
Yeah, I think I feel a bit sorry for I have to say McGoldrick, or sorry, McGoldrick for this evening. I think he probably should have been a little bit further up as Jason Smith battling now Dylan McClemens, and we expect to see him going to really put the pressure on Ronan Doherty now. We saw Dylan very much give up his position to Ronan Doherty. He's battled Jason Smith a little bit closer, and I suspect that Dylan might have a go back again after 26 car, but he has to be careful, of course, this DDR partnership. You can't overstep the line. There is still a fair championship to be battled between these two, and the cream rising to the top. These two now are Ronan Doherty and Jason Smith. They are going to be our top two in the championship when the dust settles. They are now top two on track, so this is a bit like when you see, in a league where there may be about 5 or 6 games left in the league, but the two league leaders go at it. It's not necessarily going to decide the championship, this battle, but it certainly will be a massive psychological win for whoever manages to cross the line ahead of the other as we head into the final round next week at Phillip Island.
I'm just surprised the Cork City man pays attention to league standings with a few rounds to go. You're spot on. This is a big battle as Ronan Doherty makes a meal of that right-hander and now is under a huge amount of pressure from Jason Smith. Smith wanted the race. He's now got the race with the man who he's trying to beat this week and next week to take the championship. This is going to be an interesting one with about 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, and as a Cork City fan, it's nice to watch something entirely heartbreaking, but the League of Ireland season is starting this Friday, so I may be voiceless by the time next week's round come around, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Here's Jason Smith now all over the back of Ronan Doherty, and no inch given between these two. Here's Smith trying to go around the outside, and I battle because they are, of course, our two championship main contenders, as Jason gets a little bit of a run down the inside, and Ronan's going to have to give him a bit of space. Very, very close between those two. It looked like Jason was able, and Jason just weaving in and out. Ronan taking the inside line. Jason have to go round the outside. Dylan McClemens getting the perfect view of this battle, and superb camera work again by Ronan Hedeman in the background to get this battle unfolding. And it looks like Jason has slipped through, but Ronan's going to battle every second of the way. And there's Dylan McClemens. They're three aside. Oh, this could end in tears, Evan. Let's hope it doesn't, but it could, because they're getting very, very close to each other at the Circuit de Ledenon.
Yeah, this is really close, but they haven't made contact yet. Let's hope that continues. Dylan McClemens is, I think, maybe just sitting back and he's like, okay, I'll just wait here. You two can do your thing and I'll pick up the pieces when it all goes wrong. But Doherty and Smith doing a great job. I don't think this one's over yet. However, Smith does look like he has the best pace here this evening. Could he maybe win all three? I don't think we've actually had someone win all 3 races this season. So he might be the first to take a clean sweep.
Yeah, that would be a superb result for Jason Smith and really throw himself right back up there in terms of the title battle. It looks like Jason Smith does have the overall pace, but big pressure on him now. Big pressure, because he has the man who he's trying to chase in his mirrors. I suspect the heart rate will be going through the roof in both of these cars, because there is so much on the line here. I mean, look, we're not quite into the final round. These two will be neck and neck, whichever way this battle goes, going into the final race of the season. But both of them, obviously, not only have to worry about trying to make a move, as we see Ronan Doherty going around the outside, and I think he might get that done, Evan. I think he has it done. That's a brilliant move from Ronan Doherty in the 29 car around the outside, back into first position. And he says to Jason, anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, that's a cracking bit of driving from Ronan Doherty. He's a well-experienced racer now, despite his young age, and he's made it count there around the outside of Jason when an opportunity didn't look like it was arising. He's into the race lead once again, but Jason's going to have another go at him. I think that's inevitable. What Ronan would like now is for Dylan McClements maybe to have a go at Jason Smith, could put a car in between them both and just give a bit of breathing room. But these all battling is backing them all up into Chris Knox, who has now attached himself to this train. So that now makes it 4 cars battling for the race win. Bit of a rendezvous to Snetterton, I feel. This feels very familiar.
Yeah, a bit of deja vu, I think is what you meant to say.
That is exactly what I meant. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Ironically, a bit of a faux pas here in Ledenon in our one French round of the season. But I just love this. I love the like it's really on a knife edge because obviously, as Jason Smith really goes for a dive down the inside, they're going to come together, and there is Jason Smith sliding out. There I was just about to say, you got to make sure that even if you don't finish first, you don't have an accident, because it's going to send you way back down the grid. Jason went for a very brave move. It didn't work out for him. That's racing.
Yes, that is awful unfortunate for Jason, who has fallen down the order now, and Ronan Doherty is in the driving seat to take the win here, because you'd like to think Dylan McClements is not going to fight his, in quotation marks, teammate too hard, and Chris Knox seems like he doesn't quite have the pace here to win this evening, but if Chris Knox does manage to get past Dylan McClements, I think Ronan may have some PTSD from the first race. But wow, 3 of the 4 championship chargers have fallen down the order here in race 3, and we thought it was going to be Ronan that evening. Just look how that's it.
Yeah, it's been a huge turn there, particularly there with Jason Smith. I thought with Jason getting ahead of Ronan, coming back from where he was to get ahead of Ronan in the standings, I thought, this could be a massive psychological blow to Ronan Doherty, a huge boost for Jason Smith. I think Jason a little bit overeager there, maybe too early on. I obviously might be wrong in saying that, as Conor Melia now putting the pressure all over the earned tiles number 18 of Peter McCann, and Peter will hoping that his tiles don't crack under the pressure here of Conor Melia's pressure. The pressure under the pressure of Conor Melia's pressure. Great stuff, Kevin. You can think of other adjectives, but that battle with Ronan now, Jason diving down the inside, as I said, it was a brave move. It didn't work out for him. These things happen, but for Jason Smith now, it massively changes. He's going to finish his Dylan McClements, my God, the McClements brother, Dylan McClements, too late into that corner, carrying too much speed, and unfortunately spins out. Evan, I'm going to leave you actually speak some proper English as I begin to gather my thoughts.
I said rendezvous 2 minutes ago. I wouldn't really be worrying, Kevin. We're both as bad as each other. But, Dylan McClements, again, another spin. That's just something that seems to happen to him a little bit too often in this championship. Here is an instant replay, I believe, of it. Let's have a look then as he's just coming down the hill. Is there a bit of contact maybe here? I don't think so. No, just turns into the corner, I think, a bit too quickly. He was carrying a bit too much speed and just sent it round. Got back going fairly quickly, so could still get a good result in this one, but I believe that's one of the Jasons overtaking him. So unfortunate there for Dylan. Very unlucky, but it is his own mistake and he has to pay the consequences. This is Huan Ji Lin and Hans Mollet who are going side by side. They've both merged in 4th and 5th in this one, and that is going to be more contact, and Lin just about saves it. One thing for Lin is his car control this evening has been exceptional.
Yeah, superb stuff. A really international flavour to that. Norwegian going up against a Chinese driver in Wang Jilin. It's superb to see such an international flavour in the RTA Championship, but a very almost a carbon copy of the Smith Ronan Doherty incident. One car going down the inside, just tapping off the inside, and again that banking. Sometimes you would normally think it would help you going through a corner, but if you take that contact, it does encourage the car then to rotate more. That very interesting that Dylan McClements, looking back on it, it's very similar to what we were saying earlier on when we were talking about that track guide with Jordan Kelly. Because of the bank corners, because of the fact that a lot of the corners are downhill, the car wants to come away from you, so you have to be very, very careful with how much brake you apply and when you apply the brake. I think Dylan just I suppose it's almost like everything happened and he wasn't quite in control of it until it was too late. Like, he kind of didn't apply as much brake, and then he was trying to recover from that to try and slow himself down. The car kind of came away from him, which just goes to show how difficult this track is. I mean, we're looking at the front runners and they're making it look very easy, but I guarantee you, if you boost up iRacing, go into the Ledenon circuit and boost up the Formula Ford 1600 car, you will be spinning for days. I mean, how these guys have only learned this track last night and are driving in the way that they are, it's exceptional, because this is such a demanding track on the driver and on the machinery. As Conor Melia now, this battle continues there with these Monaghan's #1 importer of porcelain and ceramic tiles, and Peter McCann repping their brand and managing to keep Conor Melia at bay.
Yeah, Conor Melia battling here with Peter McCann. Is he going to go for a bit of a move? No, maybe not. Peter currently in 11th place. His results this evening in a bit of a staggered pattern, but having a strong race 3 here in 11th spot, looking to take that one over Conor Melia. We're looking at Hans Mollet here again, who also, let's give him his credit, is driving well in this third race. He is in 4th place, looking to take home another strong result. And with only about 3 minutes to go, Kevin, it seems like these results are fairly set in stone.
Yeah, or set in stone for sure, or set in ceramic if you're Peter McCann. Just want to correct myself there. It's actually Cavan's top supplier of ceramic and porcelain tiles, and they can be found at the Corlugan Business Park in Gortnakesh, County Cavan. So if anybody does want ceramic or porcelain tiles, just actually what you should do is you should message Peter McCann, because he knows where to find them. As Sean McGoldrick goes round at the back of Jordan Kelly, I think that was Sean trying to make a move down the back of Jordan, and just a little tap for the 22 car. Unfortunately, he finds himself facing in the wrong direction for the second time this evening, and dropping only a place to his Jordan teammate Tony Stack. Into the final laps here. Ronan Darty leading by 1.7 seconds. Now Chris Knox seems to have an issue. He's dropping back there quite quickly as Sean McClements is battling against him, and I think it's just a case of Chris trying to hold off Sean McClements, because that gap is growing massively between himself and Ronan Darty. It's going to be really not as bad an evening for Ronan as we had feared, Evan, but for Jason Smith, he will be left to rue that decision to be so aggressive dive bombing down the inside quite early on in this race.
Yeah, he'll be thinking of that one later on and maybe regret his decision, maybe not, who knows. But he is in 6th place, which is not the worst considering he is still beating Jordan Kelly and Jason Cooper, so it's something at least. But Ronan Darty is the man to beat, and he's the one he has to be ahead of, and Ronan, of course, is leading the race. Here comes Sean McClements trying it up the inside on Chris Knox, maybe now heading through turn number 4. Will he have a lunge into towards turn number 5? We've seen a few incidents here this evening. This won't be one of them. Clean racing from the pair. McClement's going to try the outside or the inside here on Chris Knox. Knox taking a defensive line. McClements is still going to stick it up the inside, use the curb to his full advantage. Is there a bit of contact between the two? It doesn't look like it, and they're still side by side on exit here. They've got to be oh so careful that they don't drive into an accident here. Wow, this is really close between the two. I'm not too sure if they've kept it side by side through there, but they're still going at it. Seems like Knox just edges ahead for now.
Oh, that's really, really tight. I wonder, is Shawnee that move? Would he have been able to hold on to it, because he was all 4 wheels over that white line here in the southeast of France as that battle continues. They're bashing wheels, and it's elbows out big time here now between Chris Knox and Sean McClements. McClements getting the inside line, and looks like he might hold on to it for the final corner. That is superb stuff, but it knocks all over the back of him, giving him a little bit of a push. Will that help or hinder the number 6 team DDR cars? They go wheel by wheel over the line, and Sean McClements looks like he's going to take it. Sean McClements by the fraction of a margin, just 2/1000ths or 2/100ths of a second, finishing ahead of Chris Knox. A great drag race to the line as Jason Smith crosses as well. And here is Conor Melia finishing ahead of Peter McCann. So showing all the grit and grout needed to get the job done ahead of that number 18 car. Really, really close battling. Really, really good racing, Evan. And like with Jason winning the first 2 races, Ronan winning the 3rd race, really keeps things open as we head down under for the final race of the season.
Yes, really, really good. Really close at the end. Juan Ji Lin and Hans Mollet as well were separated by almost the exact same gap. McClemens and Knox were, but Doherty got the job done. And actually, ironically, in Brands Hatch, we saw Smith take pole and 2 wins, and then Doherty managed to sneak a win. We've seen the same here as well. Smith took a pole, 2 wins. Doherty managed to take the 3rd win. So great job by him. Here's Philip Upson crossing the line, just an INRB championship as well. McMullen only a single spot behind Freeman. So Damien doing a cracking job there again to keep ahead in the B championship.
Yeah, and Eric Couillard once again kicking Cancer's ass by finishing P24 ahead of both Stuart Brereton and Jared Thornton in the Grade D Carolina native. We have the race winner, Rona Doherty, with us very, very shortly. Evan, do you want to have a quick chat with Ronan, our Heat 3 race winner?
Can do, Ronan. Congratulations. That is a win that we didn't think you might get this evening, considering the bad luck in the first round, but you controlled that one from the front. Bit of a battle as well with Jason Smith. We saw Smith go around. How did you find that race out there?
It was all right. Like I knew like my pace wasn't great, so I actually wasn't that bothered whenever Jason got by me at first. Was happy enough to take second, and then he got a slowdown, so he was behind me then the next lap, and then he dived from a fair bit back, and I was turned into the corner, and then I noticed he dived, so I started steering out, and like literally just his wheel just tapped my side pod and it sent him round. So I don't know, it was a close one. Like I don't know what the stewards were gonna say. It's probably a racing incident, but unfortunately, I didn't want it to end that way. But look, these things happen.
Look, if we look at the championship, you're, I believe, still the leader, as someone else will do. The maths probably Peter McCann will get that more precise for me. But you're certainly near the championship lead or in the lead coming into the final round. The ultimate goal for now has to be surely winning that championship, doesn't it?
I see what we can do. Like I'm with my uni and stuff, I can't really get too much practice in at the minute, so I wouldn't say I'll have the most pace. But then Phillip Island next week is just a pure toe fest, so it will be similar to Silverstone and the likes. So it should be fun. But yeah, no, it'll be nice to win the championship. I haven't won one in like a year in RTA, so hopefully can do it.
Then, of course, you have had Jason Cooper, Jason Smith, and Jordan Kelly with you. They'll be battling you next week hard for sure. Bit of a difficult question, maybe this one, but who would you consider your biggest rival going into Phillip Island?
Probably had to be Jason there. It's hard to say. Like the other two lads are still in contention as well. I think Jason Cooper is strong when the points are dropped. I'm not entirely sure how it all adds up. But you'd have to say at the minute Jason Smith, that is, because he's the quickest at the minute. To be fair to him, like he was way quicker tonight, so he's setting the pace. So he's always the target man, you know.
Well, Ronan, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the win there.
Cheers.
Well, great to hear from Ronan, Kevin. And despite being maybe the favourite going into the season finale, he feels that he won't have the pace, but can do well around the quote-unquote toe fest at Phillip Island.
Yeah, I suppose, look, if you're Ronan, it's just a case now of like it's a bit like it's a bit like Daytona when they do a restart and you're gridding number one with 20 minutes left. It's you've kind of done the hard work to put yourself in a position to win. Now you have to execute. So as much as Ronan doesn't get the opportunity to practice as much as he would like, I suspect that Ronan's practice at Phillip Island might be slightly increased, given he really, as he said himself, first, he's a great opportunity now to win a championship here in RTA. Obviously, he's a previous championship winner, but this is a super opportunity for him to do it in the Formula Fords. And obviously, most importantly, it's the first one broadcast by Gantry TV. So he wants to have that in his books because that'll look well on your racing CV.
That looks better than any Formula V championship or anything this country could offer, is to win a Gantry TV produced championship.
Absolutely. And on that point, we'll speak to another man who we suspect we will be commentating on for some time to come. and potentially a future championship winner, although I don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders. Sean, superb battle with yourself and Chris Knox there, Sean McClements. Really, really good battle at the end. Just looking at the instant here, we have it on the screen in front of us. When you defended down the inside, was that a 1x? Because we were wondering if you had even defended the position, would you have been forced to give it back? Because it looked like almost all four tires were over the white line.
It was a great race with Chris, yeah, but I don't actually know if it was a 1x. I don't think it was a 1x now, to be honest, but sure, we'll look back in the replay and we'll see the correct later, sure.
But it was a great, great battle between you two. You were swapping and changing back and forth in that last lap. I mean, we asked some of the lads here, we were expecting this to be a very tricky track to overtake on, but like you guys showed that you can race around here.
Oh yeah, coming any practice trying to learn the track to begin with was tough. Never mind trying to race around it. But look, the more laps practice you do, the more you sort of you vision where you can overtake and how you can get switched back and how you can maybe set up a overtake maybe 3 or 4 corners ahead. Like I did with Chris, so I held it around the outside, then I was on the inside, then I was outside and back into the inside then for the last corner. So it's all just about taking a good look at the track and just sort of visioning yourself overtaking and taking steps from there and moving on with it in the race.
You had a perfect view of the Jason Smith Jordan Kelly battle. You must obviously are very conscious of the impact that has on our championship lead. I know obviously you were secretly rooting for Ronan, but what did you make of that instant between those two, Jordan diving down the inside and the two together?
Look, I think it was more. I think it was more unfortunate now, to be honest. No, I will admit I am a wee bit biased towards Ronan anyway, so I think it was the best thing that's happened since sliced bread. But but no, I think it was unfortunate between them two because, as you know yourself, Jason and Jordan's obviously both great drivers and don't intentionally mean to take each other out and stuff. So I think it was just a wee bit unfortunate.
Yeah. For yourself though, another solid result. Look, the championship probably will now boil down between Ronan and Jason Smith, it seems. But for yourself, like, what's your reflection? How would you reflect on this championship, on your own performance in this championship? Would you consider it a good one for yourself?
Well, I say it's been an alright run. I think most tracks have been there and abouts with the pace, but I've gotten into too many incidents and stuff. So if I was to really do something, I would maybe. This might sound a wee bit controversial because it's racing, but I would maybe slow down and make sure I didn't get any incidents and lose out on the points that I've lost out on. So for now, obviously, I'm not going to be winning the championship. I think I'm too far back. So I'm just going to aim for a top 3 if it's possible, but I'm happy with a top 5.
Very good. Look, I certainly a top 3 would be a superb result next week. And congratulations. If we don't talk to you next week, then congratulations on a great season. Both yourself and Dylan provided some superb racing. Absolute joy to commentate on you. Hopefully, we'll be speaking to you next week. But if not, John, have a great week next week. And congratulations on your second place tonight.
All right, thanks, Kev.
That's Sean McClements finishing P2, doing a great job of being wingman for his brother. An overall win for the McClements household in that, although Dylan did end up falling down the standings. Really looking forward to seeing how this impacts on the championship. But Evan, just want to have a quick chat about driver of the day, because normally we'd have a kind of a clear one. I'm finding it a little bit more difficult to find a very outstanding candidate tonight.
Yeah, me too. Usually we have someone who performed fantastic. We did have some great performances across the field, but there was so many in and around the same thing. I think maybe Sean McGolick or Sean McClements, one of the Seans maybe. Usually we focus on the two Jasons, but maybe one of the Seans.
Yeah, I was thinking the Sean McClements obviously in second place. Sean McGoldrick was kind of on my mind. He had such a good result in the first 2 races, and really his third race only like ended by something that wasn't really his fault. just being pinned on the inside. So personally, my nomination would be Sean McGoldrick. I don't know what your feeling is, Evan.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, even if Ronan has a different opinion, which I'm sure he does, he's outvoted 2-1, so tough luck anyway. But yeah, so Sean McGoldrick, I know it looks like he's P9 on the race in round 3, which is a disappointing result for him. But overall, I think it was a great drive from Sean McGoldrick, and I think he should be given driver of the day. So Sean McGoldrick, our driver of the day in the number 22 Jordan sponsored car. But Evan, yeah, another really action-packed one. Not as much, I suppose, very close pack battling in the way that we saw in the likes of Donington and Okayama and Knockhill. But, or sorry, not Knockhill, Snetterton, should I say. But again, differing results. Again, we see Jason Smith and Ronan Doherty vying for the top step, and Jason slightly getting the jump on Ronan, I think it's fair to say, over the course of this evening. So it really does leave the championship. It's great to go into a final round and to have so much to play for.
It is. I'm really looking forward to Phillip Island next week, and I think anyone who's watched throughout the season will be as well. The championship is still, you couldn't decide it. If I were a betting man, I would have a very difficult decision coming up to next Tuesday, because there's still 4 drivers realistically who could win it, and we've seen across the course of the season how quickly things can go wrong. Maybe for some drivers, like tonight, Jordan Kelly, look, 15th after an incident. Jason Cooper not even in the top 18, and they were both up there for the first 2 races. So we don't really know how it's going to go. I think Jason Smith, pace-wise, may have the advantage over the other 3, but look, anything can happen in motorsport, and it usually does. So I think we have a great week ahead of us.
Yeah, an absolutely superb week ahead of us, and hopefully we'll have some more good news to announce for you as well, going into the rest of this year. So do make sure you join us next week for the final race of what's been an absolutely enthralling Formula Ford, RTA Motorsport Ray Racing Formula Ford 1600 series. Our many thanks again to Ray Racing for their continued support of the series and for producing and importing such a superb car into the iRacing service. But really, it's now down to a shootout between the last 4 drivers in this championship picture, and realistically, between the last 2, Jason Smith versus Ronan Doherty. The final countdown. See us here 9 p.m. as always on Tuesday, the 20th of February. So then we'll see you then. Have a great week. Take care. Have a good weekend. See you then. Paul Slongafol.